Good afternoon, Mr. Bonamassa. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear your voice again.
Likewise. I just looking up to see if Nathan P. Murphy's is still open, and it is.
It is, my friend. It is. Keeping the blues alive, keeping live music in the Ozarks alive.
Yeah, it always makes me happy when I know it's what his name is Bob, and who else? Who's his wife?
Dr. Bob was his name, and I cannot for the life of me remember her. But yeah, she was always a doll. I played several bands played in that venue back in the day.
They're always sweethearts,
Yeah, and you could tell you could tell too that they really cared about the music, and that was really what it was about first and foremost. It was the music, then the business, and I know that's hard. I mean, being a promoter, being a bar club owner is an insanely tough job, and you know that as well as I do. And you got to give props to those guys that they just wanted to put something out into the world. They might not necessarily have been musicians themselves, but they just cared about music, and those guys definitely were. You and I actually share a mutual.
Truly labor of love for them.
Oh yeah,
truly labor of love.
110%. So we actually share a mutual acquaintance, a young and upcoming guitarist, Jared James Nichols. I got a chance to meet him in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, and traded information. So I follow him on Instagram, and I've been seeing all these incredible guitars that you found, that man, and I'm so jealous of some of those Les Pauls that you found him. Just look incredible.
Well, he's found of some himself. I mean, I just advise him on things. You know what I mean? And he's a good guitar hunter, and and he's got a nice collection going.
Oh yeah,
and it's not all it's hard business.
Yeah, and
the thing is it's very competitive.
Yeah, I'm sure, and because these things are just like finding unicorns out in the wild. As far as like advice, I want to ask you about that though. Like, so is like he's out, let's say he's playing shows or vice versa, and he comes up across a guitar. Do you guys he takes pictures of it and like all this stuff? He's like, okay, what do you think? Is this doable? Like, is that how this works?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, all us collectors know each other. I mean, generally, it's there's not someone holding a big collection that I haven't met or talked to or heard of, and we all try to keep it honest, which is it's a good community. You know what I mean? Where it's like, hey, does this look right to you? Not everybody knows everything, and I know a little about a lot, not a lot about a little. And that's the thing about all of it is there's the obvious things, and then there's the things that are not so obvious that you kind of have to wade through and figure out what it started life as.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of modifications over the years done to guitars, especially in the 70s and 80s, but they weren't worth anything. And that's a real big deal, because you can make a real costly mistake if you're not careful. I mean, the stakes are higher now than they used to be, which I don't really dig, but yeah.
Well, it's just in the world. I have a pretty good, not even close to what you guys have, collection of guitars and instruments, but my big thing is records. I have a ton in my collection, and that's kind of this everything in the collectible world, albeit guitars, records, comic books, Pokemon cards. And since in post-COVID world has just shot up. It's insane what people are willing to pay anymore for, a piece of plastic inside of a cardboard. You're talking hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars. It's unbelievable.
Right. Yeah, and the stakes are high, and you have to know what you're looking at. You have to know what you're looking at with watches, and you have to know what you're looking at with, cards and sneakers. Because guitars and cars and anything anytime there's money involved in something, there's going to be some sort of fraud, whether it be tacit, lying by omission, or outright fakes, for financial gain. And that's, sometimes you have to be the bearer of bad news in this. But, you don't want to see, you just don't want to see all that stuff, get passed around as real, and it turns out it's not.
Yeah. Well, big props to you for definitely lending out to some guys that might not know. I mean, I think that's what we're supposed to do here as human beings, is to lift each other up, and it's not a competition. We can all sit at the table, and when, especially in the world of collectors, even guitar playing, musicians, you see guys that will sit there and stay back and help up and coming bands and show them stuff and kind of show them the ropes. And you see guys that are pulling the plugs on them because they feel like they're doing a better job than them, or turn the lights. You know what I mean? I think it's in anything. So props to you for doing that. And speaking of you put out an incredible live album. Oh, sorry, what?
Thanks. I mean, you want a flourishing community.
Yeah, 110%.
And everybody wins. You can't be selfish about it.
No, and I agree with that sentiment 1,000%. Big congratulations! The new live album, Live at the Hollywood Bowl, came out this summer. Awesome. And I did not know that you had Trevor Rabin on some of those arrangements. That's super badass.
Yeah. You don't realize that, Trevor Rabin for many years has been Jeffrey Bruckheimer's go-to guy for all those big movies. And he's a world-class string arranger. And, we all know him from Yes, and he had a band in South Africa. I believe it was called Squirrel or something like that. Rabbit. He was an animal, yeah. And, Trevor's a legend, and one hell of a musician, and one hell of a nice guy as well.
And from what I've seen, and I mean, obviously the Hollywood Bowl is a completely iconic venue. It's probably one of the top 5, top 10 in the country. And if you've never been there, you got to see a show there. If you're ever in that area and someone you barely likes playing, go. You'll be blown away by and that's why everyone wants to play there. Why did you pick the Hollywood Bowl to do this?
It was I've always wanted to play there in some circumstance, and this was the natural. This was the natural, in the venue that felt right to do the orchestra. Plus, it's my, my adopted hometown. I've lived in Los Angeles for a long time.
Yeah, makes sense.
And for once, I was the cause of the traffic, not somebody else.
That's a rarity in that town. So, of course, Joe Bonamassa also going to be in town, Juanita K. Hammond's Hall, about a month from now, Wednesday, November 20th. We'll be giving away tickets here in a couple weeks again during Guitar Hero Worship. We always love when you come to town. It's funny because some of the guys and gals that do come see you have become like repeat offenders almost. And it's so interesting to see how when it gets announced locally, how you've kind of got a pretty good fan base here locally that are just super excited you keep coming back.
Yeah, I love Springfield, Missouri. It's always been good to me. I have friends there, obviously, Dr. Bob at Nathan P. Murphy's, and we played a lot of shows there. Played a lot of shows in Springfield. And it always brings back great memories from the formative years, because I do remember just in a van, just in the Midwest, just playing our way through Iowa and Missouri and, all these little towns that I've never been to. And it's now I'm definitely a repeat offender.
And you got a lot of fans that are also big time repeat offenders. Last question I wanted to ask you, obviously you just put out the live album a couple months ago. What's next? Are you working on something new?
Record wise, there's always something going. Solo wise, I'm not sure. I mean, I just produced a record for Larry McRae, and we just did a record with our jazz funk band, Rock Candy Funk Party. So that'll be out next year, plus whatever singles they want to release that we have kind of banked. And then the next solo album, I think I'll probably start doing sometime next year. There's no real need to keep churning them out once a year. I'm
very curious to hear the new Rock Candy Funk Party, because I thought that was a great project. And it's been a minute since you guys put something out. Yeah,
they're actually 15 years old.
Yeah, it's a really good project.
I realized last week we've been doing this for 15 years, and it's like, wow. And we're back again.
That's good. That's great. That's awesome news. Well, you gave me something I wanted, because it's been a minute since I heard that band name, and I almost kind of forgot that you had done that. It's been a minute, so that's super cool, because I'm definitely into that. Well, a little bit more jazz, funk leaning, soul leaning in my own personal taste, and I've always been a big fan of that group. So I'm very excited you're coming back.
We play every year at the Bay Cathedral in Los Angeles. You have to come see us. We're not coming to you.
Yeah, I know. I can't make it out there.
That's the deal with us, and we'll play 8 shows a year and make a record every once in a while, and everybody's just happy doing that. It's fun for everybody. That's the whole point of it.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like you're having a blast, Joe. And thank you again so much for your time this afternoon. Again, Joe Bonamassa in town. He's here November 20th, Juanita K. Hammonds Hall. You can get tickets. We got it right there in the concert section online, 1047thecave.com. And again, thank you so much for the conversation today, sir.
No problem. Thanks for having me.